Hello there. Thank you so much for staying tuned to Daybreak on this 22nd day of June 2021. My name is Sam Gituku. It's now 7:15, and it's time to discuss and talk about what is informing public conversations. I have in studio Dr. Eden Kainan, the Joint Secretary for the Jubilee Parliamentary Group. Karibu sana. Alice Ohome, Member of Parliament for Kandara.
Yes.
She's been saying that she is becoming a big person in the next government. She'll be telling us about that. Karibu sana. Edwin Sifuna, Secretary General, ODM. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
And Dan Manzo, the Member of Parliament from Makueni constituency. Welcome back to the show. And of course, a lot of things have gone on over the weekend and towards the end of last week, including some sentiments that, as Sifuna said, we'll be talking about them later on. But let's begin by looking at the front pages of the two dailies. On the front page of the Standard, you'll see Ruto allies plan mass walkout. Edged out of Jubilee, the DP has embraced UDA. Between now and December, he must assemble it into a formidable party. Eventually, he will have to dump the ruling outfit as IBC nominations calendar kicks in. That's the main story on the Standard. And still on the Standard, Uhuru Raila in plan for power. The coalition pact between Jubilee and ODM lifts the lead on a grand scheme for a joint presidential candidate that will bring on board more partners. Who are those partners? Edwin Sifuna will be helping us understand that if he's ready with that information. Then on the front page of the Daily Nation, for once, MPs are broke like all of us. I don't know whether that's true. We have 3 of them here. They'll be telling us about that. Then you see running on empty. Legislators say they have not received mileage allowances for the last 2 months, pointing to a deepening problem at the Treasury at a time when county governments have given notice to shut down operations, setting a biting cash crunch. And the facts are the Parliamentary Service Commission allocates a 10,000 shilling allowance for chairing a committee meeting. A vice chair gets 7,500, while an ordinary member takes home 5,000 shillings. And MPs are also entitled to a mileage allowance calculated at 187 shillings per kilometer traveled. And then again, the story of reshuffle for appeal court judges. This is the deployment of the Court of Appeal judges, including the 7 new ones. Let me begin with that main story on the Daily Nation, and this focus with the members of Parliament. Joint Secretary of the Jubilee Parliamentary Group, is it true that you're broke? You've not received your mileage allowances? If yes, for how long?
I think first we must accept members of Parliament are part and parcel of the Kenyan society. And therefore, right now, because of the pandemic crisis, certainly you expect certain economic challenges. But I'm not aware at all. And you know, media has, you thrive on sensational stories. So yes, there are challenges, just like other parts of the world. But I'm not aware of a serious cash crunch that has affected the well-being of members of Parliament. So, but if there's any, I'm sure it's something that can be sorted out administratively by the respective clerks. And I hope it's not something that is going to make members of Parliament dysfunctional as far as their core mandate is concerned.
Honorable Kainan, you sit in the Parliamentary Service Commission,
Yes.
so you'd actually know if members of Parliament have received their payments, especially for the month of May. Have you received yours?
You see, this is what I'm saying. I have gone through the story. It is sensational. It's not specific. It talks about committee allowance. It talks about mileage. It talks about, those are, you know, it depends on what the individual member of Parliament does. But to the best of my recollection, members of Parliament were paid their salaries on time for the month of May. And any other thing that has been alluded to actually in the paper depends on the individual member concerned.
Okay.
When you apply, how you do it, and therefore it's not something that actually I can comment on. But as far as we are concerned, yes, there are challenges. Challenges, just like, you know, other countries actually going through because of the pandemic crisis. Cash flow might not be as efficient as it used to be, and these are things that actually we ought to understand. But generally speaking, I think Treasury has been very good to Parliament, and I hope whatever small issues that are right now will be sorted out in due course before the end of the financial year, which is started June.
Okay. Okay, all right. A number of MPs who traveled abroad last month for various assignments are yet to get their allowances, while other parliamentary staff are also affected by the cash crunch. That's according to The Nation. But they are quoting Belgut MP Nelson Koech that he told The Nation, it's an extremely dire situation. From the beginning of the year, it became clear that Treasury was struggling to pay salaries and allowances. Honorable Wahome, any impact on you?
A total impact, actually. Let me first say that because I was a vice chair at JIRAC, I was knocked out of the position when Jubilee was doing self-bleeding. And so therefore, of course, that I lost personal emoluments of the vice chair. So even the committee amounts that you have said there. So I've lost about 150,000 by reason of Jubilee's monkey business. Of course, the issue of marriage, I also don't get marriage. Members of parliament that live within 750 kilometers from Nairobi Parliament to 750 kilometers to and fro for 4 weeks. When you do your total aggregate, if you don't get from your home to Parliament 750 kilometers, you have no mileage. So we actually fuel our cars at the expense of members of parliament who live beyond there because they are earning, like him, he earns over 2 million shillings a month.
I think it's not good to lie, eh? It's not good
no,
to lie.
I'm not lying.
I will not take that kind
you will tell them, you will say,
it's okay. Honorable Kenan,
I'm sure that is not the topic of discussion.
Honorable Kenan, because she's here,
you won't get away with
she'll
that.
have to
hold on. You see,
this
is a commissioner. He should not be exchanging with me in this kind of a manner.
We can't allow
but it is here.
Okay, all right.
It is here. Okay. This is not your debate, by the way.
No, but it's also not your debate.
Just
I'm a guest of Citizen.
But you can't also lie to the Kenyan public.
But I'm a guest of Sam Kituku, not your guest.
Okay, Honorable Kenan.
You can't also lie to the Kenyan public.
All right. Because she made the
Act
claim.
with a bit of decorum and respect.
All right, Honorable Kenan, I hear you.
Yeah,
and Honorable
that is not the topic of discussion.
You know, I can walk out and leave you to debate alone.
You can.
Honorable Home.
You should have a bit of...
No, I mean, you have to bring order.
Civility.
Because I did not come here to be kept by him.
Let's just calm down.
These are the male chauvinists that we are not going to accept.
All right, Honorable Kenan, please, let's settle down. The question I asked is whether, just hold on, Honorable Wahome, please.
Who doesn't know Kenan?
Okay, Honorable Wahome, please, let us not go into that. The specific question I'm asking, no, Dr. Kenan, it's okay. Honorable Wahome, the question I'm asking is,
You have come here, say what you want. He can respond and actually say whether I said whatever I said. He can say whatever he wants.
The simple question I'm asking, Honorable
It is about marriage.
Because there's a story here that for once MPs are broke, like all of us, is it a fact that members of parliament have...
Let me speak to the question of marriage,
Is it true that they have not received their allowances because of the cash crunch?
I was speaking on marriage. It is part of the allowances. Marriage is paid to the people living beyond 750 kilometers. So I don't earn, not just me alone, all those members of parliament, especially from Mount Kenya region, the ones near. A few of them are earning maybe about 25 to 40,000. Honorable Kenan, among others, those who live far, actually, and the records are there in parliament, and even the media should do investigative journalism, they take home more than 1 million shillings per month for their marriage allowances. And they receive that amount of money. They could be late because it is true there is a crunch. And many times salaries of our employees is being delayed. This time we have already cleared this quarter. The next quarter is July, August, and September. They are working on it, so we don't know whether they will receive on time. Considering this is the period of the budget, sometimes it's understandable if it is delayed. But we have been having a crunch, including a crunch for travel allowances. Of course, our travel was kind of removed because of COVID, like everybody else. But recently, I have seen people traveling, and I dropped out of the trip myself for committee reasons because we were more than we could accommodate to travel maybe another time.
Okay.
But I don't know whether they received, and it is not once. Many times you have actually gone on your own money and come back to claim reimbursement. That happens.
And that is processed?
It is normally processed after that. Kenan sits in the parliamentary commission, and he knows, actually, they have refused to streamline the marriage. Marriage is one of the largest cartel business in parliament. And I cannot.
How so?
I think let me clarify this. I think
There are many
sometimes we
issues.
say, and
How so?
Let her substantiate.
How
then you
so?
can
Because
respond.
they travel, they say they travel on the road, they don't travel on the road, they take a flight, then they are paid on mileage. In mileage means you travel by car. So they receive money when they take flights. So they bring receipts that are not genuine. Many times.
Is that true?
I think first of all that was not the subject of discussion, and that's
That-
why
that is
that's
actually
why
it's
many
a
panelists
big
actually,
audit query.
That is why many panelists are actually reluctant to share a platform with my good friend here. Let's call a spade.
Where is that
The issue
factual?
of members' involvement
Is that
actually
factual?
yes. The
Honorable
issue of
Home,
members
allow him.
the issue of members' involvement actually is within the purview of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. It's not even PSC. It's not Parliamentary Service Commission. It's the Salaries and Remuneration Commission that decides on all public officers, including and state officers, including members of parliament. So whatever a member of parliament actually gets has nothing to do with PSC. It's decided by salaries and courtesy of the August 2010 Constitution.
Okay.
How that is derived at is something, again, that is within the purview of PSC. It's true, as she said, I come from Eldas, the farthest corner, almost 1,600 kilometers from the city center. She may come from 30 kilometers. Of course, that is the reality. That is the face of Kenya.
Right.
That notwithstanding, all the benefits members of parliament get actually is determined by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, just like the other states.
So, Honorable Kenan, if you take a flight to Eldas or to Wajir,
if the flight is there first.
yes, if it's there, and you
yes,
take a
if
flight,
the flight is there,
and you spend the amount that you spend, how do you claim that?
No, you know, those are details. If the flight is there, if the flight is there, if the flight is not there, the only other avenue that you expect somebody to go is by road. So those are details. And
So
imputed.
Okay, the specific question is, if you took a flight to Wajir, I don't know how much it is.
I want to
How
answer
do
you
you
directly.
claim?
I want to answer you the way I know, not the way you want me to answer you. What
Okay.
I'm trying to tell you is this. You need to look at the face of Kenya. The face of Kenya, where I come from, is from Parliament, the Precinct of Parliament, is almost 1,600 kilometers. Or call it 1,000. Somebody else in Turkana, from Precinct of Parliament, is almost 2,000 kilometers. There are no flights. Those people ought to be represented. So unless we are saying we'll have one Kenya, and that has been the psyche of actually some few misguided individuals, we must accept the diversity and the face of Kenya, and that is the reality, and that's what constitutes the Premier Republic of Kenya. So for those of us who are myopic with where they come from because they think they're privileged, or they think they are more Kenyans than others, sorry, those days are gone. It will not be there, it will not come.
You should be saying how much he receives.
That is granted. I'll get back to
I
you.
think it's better we leave there. Everybody else can
Okay,
write
all right.
to SRC,
And
find out how
Yeah,
they
can
are
you-
arrested.
Okay, or yes,
Maybe I
Honorable
can
Kenan.
help.
Yes, Honorable Manzo, because I was asking the question.
Yes.
I don't know whether you have answered that. Well, I'm not sure there are flights to Makueni, but if you had to take a flight to, let's say, Wajir, and you pay the amount that you pay versus taking a road trip, they are totally different. I
Yes.
don't know how that is claimed.
Yes.
Do you claim the price of how much it would have cost you on the road or the flight ticket?
Yes, I will tell you what happens because we had an opportunity to accompany members to different parts of the country. Even if you take your flight, your car and your driver and your bodyguard will be on the road, and the mileage is on your car. So they may leave earlier than you. You may do one or two things, catch up with Parliament. If you are lucky, you get a flight, you go to Wajir, you find them waiting, and you still do another 600 kilometers or so. I can assure you, even with these new brand vehicles, some of our friends who we had an opportunity to accompany them to their constituency in that part of the country, by the time they come back, the car will cost them so much, even much more than the flights. I remember one time we went to northern Kenya, and the brand new tires were actually cut by stones. And by the time they were even looking now for spare tires as we come back, you know, even second hand to be able to come to Nairobi and buy new ones. So I looked at the expense, and I realized, in fact, members who live from that far corner need some compensation because it is very, very expensive. And even if they go on the ground and in some of
She
these...
says that it's the biggest cartel business in Parliament. Is there any truth that there's manipulation of the mileage allowance to the benefit of members of Parliament?
Even if anyone tries to manipulate, I think the damage will be very small. The variation, if any gain, in my own assessment, it is actually a more expense than what Parliament compensates. And I think from a good friends who come from those sides, they really go through a very difficult time. If you don't go home at all, and then you claim mileage, then that one will be a lie. in their own terms, it
There
will be
possibility?
haram. It will be haram. It will be a lie. If you don't travel,
Possibility?
yes, well, it's not much a possibility, because I know also what happens to some of our friends who go there. They go and spend a lot more time there, even not come to Parliament for a week, traveling around a very big constituency.
Okay.
Because you have to meet your people in different locations, and a lot of times there are no roads. So I think we have to be fair, where fairness be. And I want to challenge my friend Alice one of these days to go to northern Kenya with one of our friends, like Mandera. Just travel with a member of parliament from Mandera, whether north or east or south, and when you land on ground, you realize what these members go through.
Okay.
I think in defense of Alice, you know, I'm not a member of parliament.
Sure.
But in her defense, I don't think she's saying that it is not proper for an allocation to be made for members of parliament who come from that far to be able to attend to their, voters. But what she's saying is that she's aware that within that system of payment of mileage, there are people who play games. That's all she's saying. And as Kenyan taxpayers, we will be very interested. And I think, Mheshimiwa, you owe it to us to present such instances so that they can be investigated, and we are sure that money is applied for the correct purpose.
Right.
What she said is, if indeed you have traveled, you have utilized your vehicle for the mileage, then claiming it is not bad.
Sure.
But that there are instances where people probably make false claims. I have had occasion to also tour with members of parliament from far-flung areas. I was in Ganze with our MP, Teddy Mwambire, once. It is a vast constituency, and it is quite difficult to access many areas. So it will not be a ridiculous claim if somebody from such areas actually traveled in
right.
Yeah.
But if they are...
Yes, Honorable Alice,
maybe I could just
as you
say, for
respond.
example, what happens.
Okay.
You know, you travel over the weekend, maybe between Thursday after Parliament and Monday morning. You come back either Monday in the afternoon. Even those who don't travel from those areas will claim and bring receipts that they traveled, even when they did not travel.
Is there any means of authenticating?
That is the problem of the internal auditor and the external auditor. You will find that they are here over the weekend for a whole month, but they will claim a full month as if they traveled. That happens often, and we know they are our colleagues.
Okay, okay. I want us
to... that the Auditor General should find a better way of verifying these things and give a standard amount. And we have been, those people who come from near have been saying, look, bad the country, you know, like, say, you know, because you can give all those estimates. You can be able to have very close, neat estimates of the kilometers. But then the other question will be, how often do you actually, is it possible to know whether the member of parliament traveled or not? So it is an area that is very gray, but there is a way it can be streamlined so that you give a one-off monthly allowance.
All right. I beg that we leave that topic at that point so that we make...
I thought you have allowed a very serious discussion on the same. It's only fair. It's
okay, what do you want to say in a short sentence?
I think let's call a spade a spade. And I like saying it the way it is.
Okay.
If one is suffering from that old colonial hangover that only representation belongs to certain privileged people, I dare challenge.
Okay.
That we swap the constituencies. I'll be very privileged and happy to be a member of parliament for Kandara and ask my good sister, my good friend here, to try and see how difficult it is for the member of parliament in Turkana.
I'm myopic.
Yes.
Dr. Kenan, Honorable Alice Wahome, let us leave it at that and talk about the matters.
The truth of, I'm concluding this.
Are you saying, Kenan, that because I come from Kandara,
Wahome, please,
92 kilometers, that I'm not entitled to...
No, 100%.
Correct.
But you also need to understand. I only want you to understand the face of Kenya and the challenges. And I wish one of the days the member of parliament for Turkana North will allow you to accompany him all the way, or North Horr. Let me use North Horr or Turkana, and you see for yourself what my good friend here. I'm sure you are using the car that you bought.
Dr. Kenan, I want us to make progress and listen to what Raphael Tuju and the gentleman who is in studio said about
the
I have made the statement. Of a coalition between ODM and Jubilee Party. Here it is.
It spells a great hope for this country. If ODM and Jubilee can work together, then really there is nothing that this country cannot achieve in terms of uniting the country.
If you look at the previous coalitions we've been in, we've been getting into agreements or coalitions with people who operate in places like Western Kenya, which is an ODM stronghold. So we would want that this particular time around, we get into coalitions with parties that operate in other spheres, places where we will not get into local squabbles about joint nominations and so on and so forth, and to expand the horizons of the political parties that are involved.
SG Sifuna, let me begin with you, because there's been this talk that, yes, Jubilee and ODM are coming together, yet you guys were such bitter rivals in 2017 and 2013. Or is this, quote-unquote, Damascus moments that has come that you've realized that you actually share ideals, and even as you form a coalition with the Jubilee Party, who in the Jubilee Party, because it appears quite split?
I think stranger things have happened in politics. I don't think that anyone would say that it is the strangest thing to ever happen. I have given the example of the coalition that has taken power in Israel, that has brought together people that were thought never ever going to be able to sit on a table, let alone form a coalition. Israel has gone through, I think, 4 elections in the past 12 months alone, and they realized that sometimes your traditional ideals must give way to very robust pragmatism when it comes to securing the future of the country. We have never said that there is no possibility at all for us to have a conversation. The way we see it is that it is a natural progression from the cooperation that has existed between our 2 party leaders since 2018. By the president's own account, it has enabled him to achieve more than he ever did in his first term. We have proven as ODM to be very reliable partners in the past 3 years. We have lost a lot of friends, some, from putting behind what are essentially our priorities in order to support the president to deliver on his mandate and to have that conversation of the handshake. So we consider it a natural progression.
Okay.
And by the way, political parties exist for the sole purpose of, getting power. For us to be able to implement the things and the ideals that you talk about, you have to have the instruments of power. One of the things that I have noticed is that people try to emotionally blackmail ODM and make us feel like, we are not supposed to be in conversation with certain people because of who we are. I can tell you, Sam, that nobody's going to blackmail ODM and say, oh, you have forgotten who you are. We have not changed. They say a leopard never changes its spots. But we are going to have occasion, especially when it comes to the 2022 election, for what are traditionally idealistic views to give way for very ruthless pragmatism. If that is what is going to take for us to be able to form government, we will have that conversation with Jubilee.
And what happens to the National Super Alliance? Because there's been this argument, especially from Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, that there's actually an existing agreement that ODM was not to field the presidential candidate in 2022. It was to be the opportunity for other parties. What happens to that?
You know, I don't want to embarrass senior counsel by trying to, make him understand what is contained in a very simple agreement. And my brother here is a lawyer and he knows it. The clause that they refer to is a very specific clause that says, in the event that the NASA coalition agreement is renewed, then ODM will not field a presidential candidate. Now, this agreement actually lapses at the end of this parliamentary term, and he's here, he can confirm. So in the absence of renewal of that agreement, and I can guarantee you there is going to be no opportunity at all for us to renew that agreement, because I agree with what Kalonzo and Musalia have said, that in fact there is a very serious deficit of trust in that coalition called NASA. The only point of departure is where that deficit of trust came in and what time it actually happened. Because for me and for the ODM party, we place it squarely on the 30th of January 2018 when they failed to show up for a very serious coalition event. So I have seen some people trying to blame me for the collapse of the coalition. The person who pronounces death is not the person who causes death. I am but the doctor who called death, and I put it at a specific time, and the cause of death was the absconding of the swearing in at Uhuru Park on the 30th of January.
Honorable Manzo,
yes.
How are you taking this as a coalition? Because just after what we heard last week of Kalonzo Musyoka saying he would be the most stupid person to support Raila Odinga again, and then Raila Odinga responding and saying that wameanza kubweka, and Kalonzo said naitaendelea kubweka. How are you taking it as a party, and what happens now with the grand scheme of things ahead of 2022?
Yes, first let me take you back to what the great Secretary General of ODM has stated earlier on. You know, first and foremost, coalitions are made in good faith, and you know, there must be trust. And again, a day in politics is too long. Very unlikely things happen in politics. Now, legally, and he knows, he's a very good lawyer, Wanasfuna, that actually under the law, under the Political Parties Act, there cannot be a coalition agreement between ODM and Jubilee, legally. You can't have that. But there can be cooperation, and there has been very good cooperation. And the Jubilee government...
So cooperation agreement which Wiper is in with Jubilee Party, where is it covered? In what law?
The agreement between Wiper and Jubilee Party is a cooperation.
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
A cooperation is exactly what ODM is also doing with Jubilee. It's only that it is not documented.
Okay, Honorable Manzo, what I'm asking is, because Kalonzo Musyoka is on record saying that Jubilee and Wiper in a cooperation agreement. So let others join us. Yes. What is cooperation agreement under the Political Parties Act?
They signed an agreement of cooperation. Jubilee...
So what is that in Political Parties Act?
Well, cooperation falls under a different regime of law, not necessarily strictly under Political Parties Act, but it exists. Parties can cooperate in deed or in action. Yes.
Okay.
Parties can cooperate in deed or in action. But you cannot have a coalition agreement right now between Jubilee and the ODM legally, strictly legally. You cannot have, but you can have a cooperation.
Okay.
And again, also, I want to challenge my good friend here. Right now, we know what has happened to Jubilee. It's no longer what it used to be. So what are they gaining if they did a coalition agreement right now with the Jubilee? It is a political vehicle which has come to its destination, and has actually been disbanded or in the same status as NARC or PNU. That is what Jubilee is.
All right, Honorable Manzo, let's listen to your party leader as he spoke about the National Super Alliance. Then I can get to this side of conversation.
Breach of trust. Ni kama mke na bwana wakikosana and you find your partner in the act, caught in the act. Inakuwa breach of trust mbaya sana. We are trying to see going forward kama viongozi wa Kenya hii, and I want to be there and I want to be held on account. What I say is what I will leave tomorrow.
All right, and Honorable Kenan, because you're the Joint Secretary of the Parliamentary Group of the Jubilee Party, Jubilee Party is in cooperation agreement or coalition with KANU, Wiper, and now working on a coalition agreement with ODM. What is the idea? What are you working towards so that everyone is working with you, but in there, they're still fighting?
I think, first of all, we need to again appreciate the history of this country since the advent of multipartyism. If you look at the general election of 1992, 1997, 2002, 2007, 2013, and 2017, look at one key denominator has been there has been different political formations at the end of every term. And therefore, 2022 will not be an exception. The same thing will happen. And parties, ideally, they are to form governments. I don't think there's any party that is there because of humanitarian ground. Parties are there in the quest to form government. So to that end, what the Jubilee Party, what the Jubilee government actually has done, I know Alice will disagree with this, since 2017, we have had an opportunity actually to unite the country. That led to the handshake. We're also alive to the fact that there is also the NASA coalition. Now the question that you have asked is the difference between cooperation and a coalition. Jubilee right now has a coalition agreement with KANU. A coalition agreement is a legal entity, it's a legal document prepared and deposited with the register of political parties, and therefore that is enforceable. Now the issue of cooperation, it can be a word of mouth, it can be a gentleman agreement, it can be in a written form, but that is not necessarily deposited with the register of political party, and therefore enforcement sometimes might be very difficult. What we have right now is, what Jubilee has is a cooperation agreement with Wiper. That has not been deposited with...
what does that entail now?
Just how we work together in Parliament and outside Parliament, and you know, and we also have a cooperation. It may not be written through the handshake with the ODM, and that has brought in so many other things. Right now, the discussion is, and remember, there are key political players in this country. Odinga is a key political player. President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is the head of Jubilee Party, is also a key political player. There are other parties, Wiper, of course, ANC, KANU, Ford Kenya. They are key parties, and therefore, what people are right now trying to do is to create a space for their party in their quest to form government. To that end, we as Jubilee are prepared to escalate and take the handshake to another level. If that will lead to a coalition, let it be. If that will lead to the formation of a new political entity, let that be. But we're also alive to the fact that we want to bring the entire country together, work with ODM, work with the Kenya Alliance, and other like-minded people.
If you're successful to bring ODM on board as coalition partners, what's the next level?
Actually, to be honest, practically speaking, okay, you can ask your question.
Because already there's one Kenya Alliance of KANU, ANC, Ford Kenya, and Wiper, and you have all those existing post-election coalitions and cooperation agreements with Wiper and KANU. So what's next after ODM?
I think you must have heard from Sifuna. Some of these agreements are actually coming to an end at the end of this parliamentary term. Correct. And you need to see the election timetable. I mean, by February next year, parties will be expected, actually those who are in the public service will be expected to quit. Parties will be expected actually to come up with their modus operandi actually of nomination rules. And meaning therefore, those written agreements in the form of coalitions that have been deposited, the term is almost coming to an end. So nothing stops those parties actually in getting into new formations for 2022. And therefore, what we are doing right now is, and I think it will be naive to assume that one party alone, again, I want to repeat this, and that's why I always say we need to appreciate the face of the Republic of Kenya, the diversity of the Republic of Kenya. Once we are conscious of that fact, then there is no one single party. And that is why I alluded to the history of this country from the advent of multipartyism from 1992 to date. Tell me whether there are two elections with similar characteristics. It has all been different, 1992. If you look at them, the key denominators, the key faces, even the regional bases have been completely, there has been a shift. That shift is what I'm foreseeing. As to who and which group actually will participate in this, I think time will tell, because 12 months, 13 months in politics is such a long time. Okay. And I'm sure in the next few months, I have no doubt in my mind that you'll see a new formation as part of the countdown. So
after ODM, there's other parties.
I'm saying you'll see a new formation. I do not know the nitty-gritty. I do not know the content. But I'm sure there'll be a new formation as we approach 2022 general election.
And Honorable Wahome, I wanted us to listen to the Deputy President William Ruto as he spoke about this. Let's listen to that and then we can hear from you.
Hawa watu wamevunja chama ya Jubilee ya kitaifa. Sasa wanataka kutuambia kila mtu aende aanzishe chama ya kabila yake. Sisi tunawaambia Hustler Nation ya Kenya haiwezi kutoshea kwa chama ya kabila fulani na haiwezi kutoshea kwa chama ya kona fulani. Sisi tutakuwa na chama ya kitaifa ambayo Wakenya wote watatoshea.
All right, and Honorable Ali Sohome, I don't know whether you associate with those views and every bit of that, but also there's that story on the front page of the Standard, Ruto allies plan mass walkout.
First page.
Yeah, that's the front page of the Standard. And continue on page 4. What's your comment about what just happened to your party? Because it's still your party, that is the Jubilee Party. Yeah. And what is your side of politics thinking moving forward?
Thank you. The Secretary General of ODM and the Secretary General of Jubilee have the unfortunate positions of midwifing the death of Jubilee and ODM. And they have been very active to that end. Our party has been very active trying to remove or eject the Deputy President out of Jubilee, the Deputy Party Leader. I think from his statements, some of these things also you people, you write, I don't know, the media write, are not necessary. I think these days you don't have to be factual. You know, I think the media, I think, is normally not factual. I think you sometimes it's very hard to understand. So, but the truth is,
just hold on, because Honorable Rigathi Gachagua is quoted as saying, "We will begin our mass walkout from Jubilee this December in January 2022. Not in Jubilee will purport to discipline anyone when you have the party leader supporting the opposition." And of course, Standard Media Group is a credible media house, so I want to take it on the face of it that this is what Rigathi Gachagua said.
I haven't talked to Gachagua, and because I am here to speak of what, maybe to just make sense of what he has said. I don't know whether he spoke it or not.
I raised that because you said that media is sensational. So
you know, maybe you know, when you say like mass walkout, you know, it's also very dramatic. But the truth is, there will be mass walkout from many parties. From many parties, the NASA coalition is finished. Jubilee as a coalition, the way it was, is also finished, because many of these things that Tuju and Murathe have been doing, they have not been consulting the 13 political parties that formed Jubilee. That I can tell you as a fact, because the way of consulting is actually engaging the party organs. And I would be sitting in at least one of those party organs, like the parliamentary group. We've never had these discussions. Even this discussion of course now I cannot be called, definitely. I wouldn't be invited for any meeting, and I'm not looking forward, because although I'm a Jubilee party member, I'm now waiting for the law to take effect. From February, the law will not prevent me from engaging actively in another political party. Yeah, so I will myself be running on UDA party, which we are busy, and it is an affiliate of Jubilee, which we are busy also now organizing. And one of those people who has been entrusted to work on refining the constitution, and we are about to finish our constitution. And what the DP here is saying is that he's busy himself will be forming a national political party. The only problem with all these political parties and party leaders is dishonesty. Because, you know, all these agreements they are talking about, like Manzo here is a lawyer. He knows there is nothing like a cooperation agreement, which is legally binding. And therefore, they can walk out whenever they want from Jubilee. There's nothing binding them. It's just trust. The one the former vice president referred to, breach of trust. So it's, you know, gentlemen's whatever words. In Jubilee, it was, of course, an agreement. You know, there was an agreement that was signed and deposited, because all these parties agreed to collapse their parties and put all their eggs within Jubilee. Now,
you said that the party organs have not consulted with the 14 parties, but I thought they dissolved to form the Jubilee party.
No, you see, there is you know, when you collapse, there is a way you agree within that agreement of how you'll be consulting. Just like Sifuna is saying, they have an agreement in their coalition. So, and the coalition agreement is deposited with when it is deposited with the registrar of political parties, then now you can be able to refer to a legal instrument, a legal document.
All right.
So going forward, we have UDA,
yes,
and you know, it's really we are not really looking for partners, but I'm sure they will come. But our partners now, we are working with the people of Kenya.
Okay, all right.
Wanjiku is our partner.
Very interesting. We'll focus on that, because since I believe in 2002, no single election has been won without a coalition of sorts. So we talk about that later on and what will happen to all these parties in the next election. After the break, continue tweeting us at Citizen TV Kenya at Sam Gituku. The hashtag to use is Daybreak. We'll be sampling some of your feedback after the break.